Hi, welcome back. So we are in Chapter 1, Introduction, the Outline, Project, and Timeline. In this outline, we're going to discuss some of the essential steps, actually, or the principles or the guidelines in general form once you have a project to launch or task to accomplish. Now, either you are someone who has been hired internally, within the scope of the company as a member or staff, or maybe you are an external asset to the company as a consultant or some expert in the domain. So in either way, those steps could be valid for both cases. However, we should really be looking at those steps from a wider perspective. First of all, let's look at the essential step is to understand the scope of the project. Now, the first step to initiating a project in general is getting an understanding of the scope of the project, usually actually from the project sponsor or key client contact. Now, oftentimes project requesters have a specific symptom of the problem they wish to solve, or might have a big visionary idea about what the future could be if you deliver the project successfully. So there is an image. For example, in the previous book, if you remember, we discussed the problem of dropping out student, and once we contacted Learn Project, the board of management, and we're talking with them, they have an idea. It was as simple as following. The problem was a classroom, the dropout was around 40% or 30% of a student were dropping out classes. So all what they wanted to reduce this amount to 3 to 5 maximum. Still it's okay within their standard of success somehow. So this is the measurement. This is what they want to see. Now, they didn't really care much of discussion, because should be our job to find out why actually we're dropping out. But they were cooperative to tell us, well, guess what? This is what I want, and you have tasks to accomplish this. Understanding the scope of the project includes getting solid answers to some of the questions. For example, you could ask, what is it exactly that you want? Think you are here to do. Like this case, for example, I want, this is the stakeholders ask me, I want this percent of dropout to go down from 40 to 3 or 5 maximum. Next, maybe you can ask, why is that important? Because you need to see the initiative of enthusiasm by appreciating the solution. Maybe they are just temporarily trying to solve the problem around, but if they are really serious, this could give you much more motivation to understand that your solution can have a long time additions in the future, so you can improve even better. So it's not only one-time solution. Maybe you can ask, why is it important to address this now? For example, in this case of the project that we discussed in the first book, the project itself is a 13 years old project, and they called us after that time. So why now? That was a very important thing to understand why they didn't. Was the percentage, for example, before was good, suddenly drop out, or it has been like this for some times? But so you have to get to know the stakeholders project and their purpose of solving the problem right now. And what might happen if we don't do this project? This is another question. For example, if you say, well, if I would tell you this project can be done or executed, what is the answer that you expect from the stakeholders? So these are just an idea of getting to know the stakeholder of the project and how much they can facilitate the successful implementation of your task. Next, maybe we can talk about validating the scope with impacted stakeholders. Now, once you have gathered the basic information about the requested project in the previous step that we just discussed, we can begin this step, which requires you to go to various impacted stakeholders and effectively pitch your vision and your understanding of the project to them, so both of you can be on the same page. So you don't want to design or to think that you have got actually the problem correctly. For example, in this particular example, imagine if my focus was only here to reduce this percentage whatsoever, maybe giving incentive to students. So you might manage to do that, but the actual problem was maybe the teacher's quality, maybe the curriculums, etc. So you have to pitch your idea or vision to the stakeholders to tell them, well, this is what I understand, and this is what I have got to know from the problem that you have explained to me. It is in this stage actually that your perceptions of problem will likely evolve. This is often because the person requesting the project does not actually have a full picture of how everything is connected. I mean, when you speak to managers, maybe run over the whole operation, but actually down the stream, you don't really know. Maybe they don't have quite a bit good knowledge about how the things are connected, but you now will be having the chance to understand. For example, a system implementation project might look simple to a person that wants the new system. Okay, but down the stream effects of changing process across the company, such as maybe a process that have historically relied on another tool, can include significant fear and distress and a debate as to if the implementation is a good idea or not. Next, you have to look at assembling required resources and gathering the feedback. Now, it is the time to assemble the resource. I mean, to put everything together. This is where the budget is clear. This is where everyone on the same page are ready to take off and to execute the operational side. So in this step, maybe you have to plan the team shape. Maybe imagine in our case, we needed to design an AI model that can predict the reason why students drop out. But we needed essentially actually to establish, I mean, if you remember, two phases of the project, before and after, right? And now here the model is ready, okay, and we figured out, we answered the research question, why was the problem and what we suggest to make this goal happens. But in the essential stage, essentially, actually, we needed to establish a layout or a framework for the model itself. That's why we needed, for example, a sort of survey, previous contact of students who had dropped out, ask them some question, figured out, also observe in the classroom. So all these things have to happen within this stage where you are actually preparing all the information. You get some feedback, you call, you contact, they have to be facilitated. There's one more step about setting realistic expectation for the project. Actually, once you have gathered the feedback and prepared everything, it is time to set some expectations about how it will all go, or at least how it will start. And this stage requires a significant amount of negotiation and documentation as well, pre-planning for a project. For example, you have in this stage to be very clear. Is this target possible to achieve or not? Or is your solution actually the AI model that you have designed or came up with, it's realistic enough? For example, we will be designing a simple a cartoon project for a healthcare system to predict cancer status, giving an X-ray chest image. Our model could show a quality of 91% accuracy, I mean, of assessment data. But don't forget, this is a human case. This isn't an object case. So you have to be very realistic. You have to insist as the scientist or the one who designed the project that this is a tool. This isn't a decision-making mechanism. So what we're trying to say is that this tool is another tool at the hand of a doctor or the expert domain that they can utilize to understand the decision might be correct or not. Next, maybe you can organize the team and the tools and prepare to launch the project. So it is very, very important to put these steps all together and to understand them essentially before you just jump in and say, well, I'm able to design the tool. So the topic is quite wider than choosing the programming language or the the designing tool or the team. I think these are important steps many people unfortunately miss to get around. That's why maybe the quality of the product might be quite a bit questionable. Next, we would be looking at programming and structure in general form. That's exactly what we're going to do next. I will see you then.